Okay, so should I just start whenever?
Yep, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so we're Magnetocs. I'm Justin. Yeah.
I'm Tyler Schubert, and our third party is
Evan, but he's not here yet. So our product is the Non-Ferrous metal sorter. The purpose of it is to improve the sorting capabilities of current sorting methods for non-ferrous scrap metals. This is our problem.
Currently, the problem is with non-ferrous metal sorting is that it's inefficient, it's chemical heavy, or it's done by hand. The current scrap metal recycling process is done by taking general scrap, which has ferrous metals in there, non-ferrous metals in there, plastics, ceramics, etc. The ferrites are removed from it, and then it goes through an eddy current separator, which flings off the non-ferrous metals as a whole and then drops off the plastics and ceramics. That non-ferrous metal is then sorted either by hand, by people, or by chemical density sorting, where one piece of metal drops and the other piece rises. These methods are inefficient, and in particular, copper is not recycled very much. Around 30% of the world's copper is recycled. The other 70% comes from mining operations, which are environmental disasters when they are operating and for many years after they operate. So with that, we have developed a specialized electromagnet that enables us to attract non-ferrous metals.
The electromagnet, we call it the non-ferrous magnet. It's comprised of a cylinder that has some amount of turns around it and a shorted secondary in the center, and that center has the magnetic field which attracts the non-ferrous metals through eddy currents. To control it, a big part of the magnet that we want to prove is the frequency dependency of the non-ferrous metals. A team at Utah is actually doing that now, where they repel the metals instead of attracting them, and they're able to repel the metals at different frequencies, so they can specify like copper or aluminum and repel those specific metals based upon those frequencies. We want to do the same, but we want to attract it instead. So in order to do that, we built a inverter to control the frequency of the magnetic field in our magnet, and by controlling that, we can determine what metals we attract. So if we want copper, we'll attract that. If we want aluminum, we'll attract that. And this is a demonstration of our magnet. Here you can see that when the strings go loose, that the magnet is holding the piece of aluminum by itself. So we were able to get the strength of the magnet strong enough to hold it versus gravity. And then, this is our future work.
So our next steps in the product development are, we need to prove attractive frequency dependency. We have a functioning non-ferrous magnet, which is able to attract aluminum and copper discs. We have a functioning sensor network and inverter, which are able to get information from the test bed, and also we have the inverter where we're able to change the frequency of the magnetic field. We need to prove that attractive frequency dependency, similar to what the team in Utah has done in their what they refer to as electrodynamic sorting in their method. The other thing that we need to use this test bed to prove is that we're able to attract smaller pieces of non-ferrous scrap, which has been a major problem using other methods. Typically, the eddy current sorters themselves, the smaller pieces of scrap below 2 centimeters will just get lost in the mix, and we're hoping that we're able to actually attract smaller pieces also. So those are our next two paths that we need to prove to make this a functional industrial product.
Okay, thank you. So you're basically making a magnet based on eddy currents. Mm-hmm. So why is an eddy current magnet better than the eddy current approach they're using right now?
The eddy current approach they're using right now isn't able to differentiate between different types of non-ferrous metals.
Okay, so
it only differentiates between non-ferrous metals and other non-magnetic scrap in the mix.
So, yeah, so what's happening is because your visuals are so weak, your story is not coming across very well.
Okay.
So you tend to do a lot of words.
Yeah.
But you need pictures.
Okay.
So I need to be able to, so if we go back at the very beginning, these are good, these are pictures, I get this. But this doesn't do anything for me, so I think here you need a picture of the process used to separate. Okay, start with no one knows what non-ferrous. You should assume that no one knows what non-ferrous is. I do because I'm a physicist.
That's true.
Okay, but most people are not gonna know what non-ferrous is. You have to explain that, you know, materials that are picked up by magnets are these type of materials.
Yeah.
And people, but there's a whole bunch of materials like copper and aluminum that don't have, that are not magnetic.
Yeah.
I think it's non-ferrous is the problem. You want to use magnetic and non-magnetic.
Okay.
It's useful.
Yeah.
The materials are non-magnetic like copper and aluminum don't get picked up by the magnet. So you have to have a visual of that, you know. What's the problem? What's the picture of what the system current looks at for separating materials in a waste area and really distinguish between magnetic and non-magnetic metals.
Okay.
And say the problem, we've solved the magnetic problem, but the issue is this non-magnetic.
Yeah.
And you can call it non-ferrous, but just say that non-ferrous
Define
means
it.
Just clarify.
just be clarified that non-ferrous are materials that don't have that aren't a ferromagnetics, right, which is copper and aluminum and there's other thing. And then the problem, no one can read this. Okay, like so this has to be completely eliminated. And again, go back to pictures.
We had that on 2 slides.
Right.
There was one of this,
well,
and then
even
this was
if
on
I
separate.
could see this, no one's going to read this anyways.
Too quick, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you need
Pictures.
some picture
Of the process.
showing that the labor is, you know, showing people working and hand picking, you know, out the pieces of aluminum and
Yeah,
copper
this
from the
can
street.
easily. There's.
Right. I want to visualize. What does this? I want to visualize the problem. What's going on at that right now that makes it so inefficient and so wasteful? I want to see a picture of these people. I mean, if you can find it on the web or something, you know, hand picking
There
out.
is. I've already
stuff.
seen pictures of that.
You know, the stuff and kind of saying you want to replace this hand picking with your solution, which is the next, you know, next slide. This is okay. I don't think anybody's going to get out of this, but that's okay. You did all the power electronics. That's nice. But here, and this is okay. But then here, so what frequency are you running at this?
This is at 60 hertz.
60 hertz.
Okay. So I need a picture of maybe here of why your solution is better than the current solution, and then at that point you can say, but to be able to make it better, we really need to prove that that we can really attract certain metals with the right frequency, and that's our goal right moving forward. And then we also have to prove we can pick up smaller pieces, because so your competitive advantage, if I understand it properly, is that you can frequency tune to distinguish between copper and aluminum and other metals, and that you may be able to pick up smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Well, then I would
state that more in the problem.
state that, and this is what's currently done. This is your solution. The advantage of your solution is you have the ability to do both of these, but you need to prove it, and that's what I wouldn't spend a lot of time on what your future work is. I would spend, say, You need to also I would also kind of have an idea, maybe it's in their introduction, you need to have an idea of the size of the market. So how many, is this a big problem? How many waste facilities are there that have to separate metal out? I mean, just get an idea of the size of the problems. That kind of, even though this isn't, even though this could be a nonprofit, or you have to still have kind of a concept of what the business is.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys have a great idea.
Yeah.
But you need to, you have to sell it a little bit.
Okay.
So
Cool.
I did send you guys like a list of all the suggestions and resources for PowerPoint development, and take a look at those. I would recommend, watching the funny video attached to that email that actually shows you how not to do a PowerPoint.
Okay.
Because it's you don't want to do death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
You know, you don't
Okay.
wanna read what you don't wanna have just words.
Okay.
It's like,
Yeah.
so it's just,
It's okay to have some words, but not very many. You don't want sentences.
Yeah.
you don't wanna just read what you've got.
Yeah, that's why.
So
we tried to
it's
have
supplementary and
words.
it adds to what you're saying.
Okay.
So, the visuals, like what Sue was saying, that's the most important thing, that you tell the story with the pictures.
There will be some judges in there that are technical, but some judges are non-technical, so.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
They're
think
not
that
technical.
it would, I mean, do you think it would be better because this isn't, because it is more, it's not based in technical, to use the, to refer to it as a